just like Bernie Mac. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. You move doubled up to duck the truth on the ruckus to your front door. Go jump for stories from the bottom of your flats. Rocking Gotham with the cap, with the pink dot, the ink block specialist. Yeah, we stay ahead of it.
But yeah, man, I really appreciate you being here and doing this for me and the channel, because I know a lot of the subscribers love your music. It's one of the when I put up Split Profits or Res, man, you guys always get a lot of attention on the channel. So I appreciate you doing this. So
no worries, man. I think like it's been wicked to see. Like I can't think of anyone else. I mean, I haven't gone and looked, but I've never seen someone like get so invested in a music genre and go through it like you have. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it's cool, man. I think what you're doing is really good. No one in England's done it either. Like,
well, it's funny because people ask me why I don't do it for Canada, and then I got this list today that said that it was like the top 20 Canadian hottest artists, and I listened to them, and like it's all that it's all the style I don't like, right? Like they can be taken off, they're going to explode, but it's not my type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I found the UK hip hop, man, and it resonated with me so much. Even like that last track you put out, the 100. Like to me, that was like that track resonated to me as a father and as a human being, and as someone who gets up and busts their ass to, put a roof over their family's head, right?
With the shocks, I'm beefing with the clocks. Time is money, doing meaning nothing hot. Nah, I'm tired scheming, trying to beefing up my pot, putting pennies in a jar like they'll feed me up for what? Life is like a box of hand grenades. I'm juggling the pins, what's so meaning in my standard day. I'm out of pocket, but surroundings tell me otherwise. I've never been the jealous one who's looking at the other guys. That one weirdo kept it 1-0.
I'm 48 years old. I listen to a bunch of guys talking about how they have all their women and cars and mansions, and Drake's Canadian, and he's got private planes and all. Like, I don't resonate with that shit, right? I mean, that doesn't do anything for me. It has its place, but it doesn't do it for me. But so yeah, man. I guess we'll start off with this. Let's just dive into this past couple of years. It's been crazy for everybody, and how has it affected you, say personally and professionally? And I know you have multiple with your Fatty Lou and your Green Brick and stuff, but how's it affected you that way?
I mean, it affected everything, like you say. Like that, the one silver lining before the negatives is that I've got to spend a lot more time with my son. Do you know what I mean? I've spent loads more time with my son than I would have done if there was no lockdown and if all this hadn't happened. That being said, Green Brick was formed just not long before the first lockdown, and we had like a plan to go to France on a tour and take people like, say, Springer, DJ Rogue, like these people that hadn't had a chance to get their music showcased and stuff. We had a whole tour plan basically. Obviously, that got completely taken out of question. As far as music for me, like I think maybe because I was going through such a transitional period of like, we moved house. Me and my partner got engaged. We had our son. Like Leon was he was like, I don't even know if he was 1, like maybe coming up to 1 when the first lockdown happened. So there's a lot of stuff going on in my life, like loads of stuff going on at once, like that meant, and also 84, we moved from 84, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the podcasts that I did from there, the Brick Sofa podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was all filmed in like the top room of the house. And so that ended as well. The podcast ended because we didn't have a space to film it. We couldn't film it in the new place. I don't know. It's a weird one, man. It's weird. Like the whole just adjusting to everything. At first, I was like, just like everyone else, I'm sure, like didn't know what the fuck was going on, gloved up, like, do you know what I mean? Mask everywhere. And then the more I saw like into it, the more I was just like, oh man, like it's obviously a real thing. but it's been monetized in a very, very, very strong way, and all the stuff that's been pushed through. I don't know. It's been a hard couple of years, man. It's been a really, really tough couple of years. But there's always the silver linings. You know what I mean? More time with my kid. More time. I started MMA. You know, like all these things that maybe if there wasn't a lockdown, I wouldn't have done. But I feel like it's coming full circle now, and I feel like I'm back on writing bars. I'm back into like the mind frame of making music and stuff. Whereas like the past couple of years, it's not been so much of the focus. You know what I mean? Laying foundations has been the focus.
Right. And what is well, kind of going to me, like this channel only exists because of COVID, right? Because I was stuck in my house and you only play so many video games and you can only watch so many movies and all that, right? So I needed something. And I couldn't write, like nothing seemed to come out. So I needed something. So the channel was born out of that. But getting to you with the MMA, is that something that you were interested in before? Or is this that kind of sprang up on you only during COVID?
I mean, I've been like back when we were younger, I've always been a bit of a fighter. You know what I mean? Like I've always been like we used to get into a lot of issues and stuff, being out and about all the time, you know what I mean? My dad and my mum are both black belts in Aikido. So there was always like a lot of like wrestling and stuff like that. And I used to go to like summer camps where they'd do Aikido and things like that. But I never really thought anything of it. That's the alarm for reminding me. But so it's always kind of in me. Like I've always felt like I've got a bit of a war inside me. Do you know what I mean? But skateboarding took that adrenaline. Maybe it's something to do with living on the edge and like risk or like the adrenaline rush or whatever. But the first time like quite a few of my friends either calisthenics teachers or like they've had cage fights and stuff like that, friends that I grew up with. And it always interested me, like really interested me, jiu-jitsu teachers, stuff like that. But because I was so focused on the music and so focused on before the music, it was graffiti. It never even, and partying, do you know what I mean? You can't party and go out for like a whole weekend. And then on Monday, I mean, you can, but you won't necessarily have the same effect. Do you know what I mean? Like my lungs, when I first started a year and a bit ago, my fitness was fucked, like completely like, and it wasn't a thing that I thought, yeah, I'm going to get into this and then I'm going to start having fights. Like I got into it just to learn. I'll tell you why I got into it, right? Is I watched, there was a drama series and might seem a bit weird, but this was one of the main reasons I got into it. It was a drama series. I can't remember what it's called. It's about this female copper from, London who gets sent to Dublin or sent to Ireland, I'm not sure if it's Dublin, to figure out this case of these killings. And you see throughout the show, right, that you know who the killer is. You learn very quickly who the killer is, but it's like the two sides of the story. And there's this one scene where this guy, and he's like, they keep showing him like working out and going for night runs, and like this guy's obviously really in peak physical health, and he's obviously fucking psycho. And he basically he's there's one scene where he's in this house and he likes to strangle women, and the woman's brother comes running up the stairs and tries to stop him from attacking this girl, his sister, and he like hits him over the back with a piece of 2x4 or something like that. I don't know what it is, but then he turns around and obviously kills this guy. And in my head I was thinking, man, if someone come in my house that was like, and I've had people try and come in my house before, crazy shit, whatever. But if someone tried to come in my house who was a little bit more physically able and a little bit more skilled than me, or just stronger or fitter or something, realistically, you might think, yeah, oh mate, I can throw a punch and I'm tough like this. And you're not. And in this series, the guy, when he's getting questioned, they're like, oh, so why did you kill the brother or whatever? Like, why did he need to die? And he's like, well, if he couldn't defend his own sister in their own house, then what kind of a man is that? I was like, right, fuck it. I'm going to learn how to fight. But then it like, you know, then it kind of snowballed and I got really into it. And then it was like, the possibility of actually being able to fight and actually being able to have amateur fights. And I kind of thought if I'd have started when I was younger, that would be a possibility. But like I'm a year and a few months in, like almost a year and a half in, and I'm ready to fight. Obviously not at the same level as some, as you know. I mean, there's levels to this shit, but amateur MMA. So it's been a cool journey, man.
Is it a pretty big scene over there? The amateur stuff.
It's getting bigger and bigger. I think like a lot, like love him or hate him, what Conor McGregor did for the sport was quite a big thing. Like I think a lot of people got into MMA because of that guy and because of how big the UFC became around that time. You know what I mean? I mean, it's been growing gradually for a long time. Like I don't have my finger on the pulse as much as like, or I haven't for as long as it has been growing. Do you know what I mean? I've kind of only really got into it recently. Before I used to watch like the big fights and stuff like that, and I'd occasionally watch boxing and things. But now when you go to the gym, like I was in the gym like 2 days ago, and I was trying to heal my broken rib, trying to see what I can do on a bike. But it was like Saturday morning or whatever, and there's about 50 to 100 kids in there. Some of them doing jiu-jitsu, some of them doing boxing, doing MMA. And they're all young kids, man. You know, like, I don't know what the starting age is, but there's kids that look like they were like 10 years old up to 13 and like loads of them, man. So I think the scene's getting bigger. Like a lot of my friends at the gym are fighting. There's fights on quite often. So it's a big thing, man. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see that.
Is it big there? Is there much of a scene there?
It's I mean, it's probably like there. It's quite popular. I'm not so much. I don't know so much about the actual, like how many people do it or how many people are getting into it. But I know like the UFC is huge over here. Like that gets a ton of views and stuff. I mean, I was watching it way back. I don't watch it so much now, but I was watching it way back because I grew up with a guy, Gary Goodridge. He was in UFC 1. Actually, the first couple of years.
Yeah. Grew up with that dude, yeah?
Yeah, that dude's just a monster. He's so huge in real life. But, he's like an arm wrestling champion and stuff. The guy is just massive. But I grew up playing basketball against that guy. So I knew him. So I kind of got into it because of that.
Okay.
But myself, I've always been our football, American football, and baseball and basketball. So so you mentioned growing up in Bristol. Can you explain to me a little bit what that was like? And because you said you got into graffiti, skateboarding, and then how has that shaped your music?
Well, I mean, Bristol's got like where I grew up in the 90s in Bedminster. Like Bristol's changed. Like I think everywhere changes, you know what I'm saying? But back in the 90s in Bedminster, like some of my core memories, it was all pretty crazy. You know what I mean? There's a lot. Like in 1998, Bedminster had the worst car crime in Europe. And I'm talking about like an area the size like a tiny. Bristol's only like you know what I mean, 10 miles wide or whatever. It's tiny, and Bedminster's a tiny part of that. So it was always pretty wild. And I think like it's always kind of been at the forefront of like graffiti. Obviously, there was like the Wild Boys from Bristol. Like a lot of old school hip hop culture kind of came from Bristol. I mean, Aspects, Tricky, Massive Attack. You know, these people that are like huge. But Tricky's from Knoll West, which was just up the road from where I was born. And like it's always kind of had this culture of graffiti and hip hop and breakdancing and hip hop culture. Do you know what I mean? And I got into it through skateboarding. So a friend of mine, his dad, Percy Dean, his stepdad or whatever, his mum's boyfriend at the time. He was the editor for this skateboard mag, this UK skate mag called Document. And we went to school together. And I mean, I'd had one of the little boards you push along the ground or whatever, like just kneel on it and like roll on a fishboard. But then one Christmas, I think I got a skateboard, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. I got a skateboard, and I got given a Tribe Called Quest Midnight Marauders, an Offspring CD, and what was the other CD? Yeah, Jurassic 5 Quality Control.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that was like my initial start into, and I loved music before that. But I didn't know like this is hip hop, this is dance music, this is reggae, this is, do you know what I mean? I was just up around like acid rock and the Beatles and like blues, do you know what I mean? That was my kind of thing. But Bristol, I think, just always had that. And because when I was about 11, when I started skating, I just was allowed out. You know what I mean? I got exposed to like a lot from a young age, I guess. And a lot of that was, especially at the time, like at the end of the 90s. So that would have been 2001 when I started going out skating. I was born in 1990. It was just skateboarding was massive because of Tony Hawk's. Hip hop was massive because it was the 90s and the end of the 90s and that whole era where it was everywhere. All the radio stations were playing it. It was just massive, you know. And I think it just kind of all just gelled together, and I don't know. Yeah, we kind of formed a little crew. Like some of the boys in Split Profits, like me and Paro, and Upfront and Flying Monk. Like we've known each other for like since like school days. You know what I mean? From skating when we were in primary school even. So yeah, it goes back, man, and Bristol's always been a really good hub for it. So I think it just kind of almost was just natural. Like if you're out and about on the streets of Bristol, I don't know. And it all kind of shaped me, I suppose.
So did it like having seen? I wrote down this, Portishead and Massive Attack. You mentioned Massive Attack, but seeing these in Tricky, seeing these guys from the area, like I had no idea until I was talking to my buddy Jake that Massive Attack even came from the UK. I'm a fan of the Blade movies, so I listened to that track they did with Mos Def, and I never had any idea. But seeing that someone comes out of that area, that kind of make it more real. That it seems like we're not just doing this to pass the time, or
yeah. Well, there was actually, it wasn't Massive Attack, and it wasn't like Tricky or even Aspects or anything at the time. So through skating, I had a friend called Liam, and we were skating this spot one time, and I don't know if you remember LimeWire. Do you remember LimeWire?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So like I searched in when I started like when we got the internet, like I was like, all right, LimeWire, search for Bristol hip hop. And there was this one track that you could tell had been sped up slightly, but it was just entitled Poison. It didn't have like the name of the band, it didn't have anything, the name of the crew, like nothing. It was just Poison. And I downloaded it and it was so good, man. I was like, who are these people? Like what? Like I knew every word to this track, do you know what I mean? And one day we were out skating and I was spitting the bars like da 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 da. And Liam turned to me and he was like, the fuck, why are you rapping my brother's bars? Like I was like, come off it, man. Yeah, all right. Like he's like, no, seriously, like that's my brother. He's in this crew called Save Fire. I was like, no. Do you know what I mean? Like, this can't be real. Like, and it ended up, yeah, he was telling the truth, and Save Fire at the time. And I still think to this day, if Save Fire had put out an album then, when like I first heard of them, and like it was when there was a big gap in the market, especially in Bristol, for like, well, they didn't even make boom bap. It was hard to explain what they made. It was almost like a mix between Massive Attack, heavy boom bap shit, like Barzy. Like I have to get you in touch with Mystifier. You know, did you see any of my Dutch Mob music?
Yes, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so other head from Dutch Mob is Mystifier, who's one of the two MCs from Save Fire.
Okay.
So it kind of came full circle. Like they got me into hip hop, and that was what really made me think I could do it. It was Liam and my other friend Pickles. They both wrote because Liam's brother wrote, so they spat bars. So I was like, right, if you guys spit bars, then I can spit bars. Do you know what I mean? And it kind of opened the door to me thinking, all right, I could actually do this because I've always loved it. So why not if these guys can do it? You know what I mean? And like you say, there was already like the Massive Attack and the Massive Attacks and the people like that aspects and stuff who had come out of Bristol and had like made a good run of it, especially obviously Massive Attack, you know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah.
So you get your crew together. Now, Split Profits seems to be a huge group of cats. How does the process work when you have that many MCs? How does it work out? Who gets the verses on the track?
Man, it's hard working with, and this is like I've been hard to work with. You know what I mean? I think we all came into it quite young and had to like grow up together through the music. So there was decisions made. Like, I mean, it's hard with 8 people. It's easy at the same time because you have like a big group of you. So on stage, you're like with all your best mates, and it's fucking the funnest thing ever. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But then trying to get everyone on the same page, or trying to go with a certain idea for something, and whether like, I think I used to be a bit too. Like, why can't people want to do it like I want to do it? Do you know what I mean? This is the way that I think is the best way. Why does everyone not think like me? Do you know what I mean? And me growing up, I had to realize that that's not always the case. You know what I mean? Same way with other people. You know what I mean? Maybe things weren't done correctly, but I think it's like it's a double-edged sword, man, because you can bounce off each other's creativity. You all push each other because you hear someone write something better than you, and you're like, fuck this. I want to write something better than that. Like, that verse was ill, so I got to try and get better. Like, and then you're constantly upping each other. And if there's 8 people upping each other, you know what I mean? You constantly rapping around really good MCs. So it makes you a really good MC. You know what I mean? You have to be able to hold your own amongst 8 people. Well, 7 MCs, 1 DJ, or whatever. But it's when money comes into it, and when things like that come into a group, business-wise, it just makes it difficult. And I think that's the same with anything. I don't think that's like, you know what I mean? That could be music, that could be acting, art, anything creative. As soon as money gets involved, it becomes a bit more difficult. As far as verses on tracks and stuff, it's more like who's there. You know what I mean? You're in the studio. If there's like 3 of you there, you make a banger, boom. It's not like no one could be annoyed that they weren't on that track because they weren't there. You know what I mean? It's basically first come, first serve. You know what I mean? If you're there and you're putting in the work, then you're going to be on most of the music. If you're not, then you're not, you know? And same way with, like, no one's ever been shut out of anything. You know what I mean? It's about you get out what you put in. Like, and that's been the same with Split Profits, and the same with anything really that we've done as a crew. You get out what you put in. But it's the sickest crew in the world, so
speaking of which, like, how was it when you like get to support acts like Ari the Rugged Man and KRS-One and stuff like that? Like, that's got to be madness.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, some of the shows that we've done together, like some of the supports, like I remember one show we played, and it was KRS-One, Immortal Technique, Pete Rock, us guys, Rag and Bone Man, Leaf Dog and BVA. Like, mate, it was the most insane lineup ever. Do you know what I mean? And you're there backstage with these people that are just like you know what I mean, the gods of hip hop. And we supported some crazy people, man. Supporting Red and Meth was one of the best. Like, Red and Meth, just like the way they just mate, those guys know how to kill a show, man. And it's like, some people are really nice, some people aren't so nice. You know, it's interesting. But going from being like, the way I seen it was like, you know, when you set yourself a goal in your head, and like I've always like been like, nah, we can be here. And then you surpass that, but you've already set yourself 3 other goals, and it's like, what's possible from now on? You know what I mean? And like, where can we go from here? And like, each time the bar was set, we always surpassed it, and it always felt like we're just constantly surpassing to a certain point. And I think that was kind of a reflection of it. Like, some of the shows we played with certain people is nuts, man. I got to ask you though, if you don't mind, just one quick question is, how did you get into UK hip hop then? Like, what was it that got you into it?
Well, it was my buddy. I was actually in a rap crew a long time ago, like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And my buddy, the MC from that group, kept telling me just how sick the UK hip hop was, and I needed to try it out. At this point, I had already become a little bit disenfranchised with hip hop because I felt it was going a completely different direction than I was enjoying. So I had a couple of artists that I listened to, like Run the Jewels, for example. So he kept asking me to check it out, and no interest. So when COVID hit, I said to my girls, like, what should I start a YouTube channel, and what should I do? And they said, well, you should react to music. So I thought, what the hell? I'll finally give UK hip hop a try. And I put it on, and the very first track I heard was Honor Codes by the Four Owls. And then from that point, it was like, yeah, this is exactly what I want. And then I got into Ocean Wisdom, and I got into you guys, Task Force, and it's one of those things, like, there's so much music that I wish I could go back and hear again for the first time. Like, I love it so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every day I just get to hear more music. And it's interesting too, because I get to see you guys, like I did the first track, Two Kids. I go from that, and I get in a small amount of time, I get to watch the maturity level of you guys going from that to where you are now. So I get to compress that down.
Yeah.
And so it's much more in my face, I guess. So I love seeing that progression. And I don't know, man. It's like I grew up in 80s and 90s, so I was there in like the golden age, right? So what you guys do over there, in my mind, is like your version of that. Because I was actually talking to my friend who was over. He's a little bit older than me, and he's really interested. He makes music, but he's really interested in my love of UK hip hop. So I keep playing the music, and he's one of the few guys that will actually listen to it. And he says, well, this kind of sounds like back hip hop in the 90s. Like, is it, they late getting to it, or are they kind of bringing it back? And I'm like, I don't know enough, but I don't think you guys, it's ever left, really.
No, I think it's just got bigger.
Yeah.
But I went through stages. So like back when like Task Force were big in like around like the late 90s, 2000s and early 2000s and stuff like that. People like Task Force, called My Stiggy and Jest and stuff. When there was the first burst, do you know what I mean? Because there was London Posse and Demon Boys and all those heads from when they first started making hip hop in the UK. And some people were rapping in American accents and stuff like that. And then like Rodney P, you know what I mean, was one of the first. And I mean, there's a lot more. I wouldn't want to start speaking out of turn, but then people started rapping in English accents and using their own accents. And then it got bit from this, just from what I know, is it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then grime came along. And then grime kind of took away from the UK hip hop, and I guess maybe shows, promoters weren't booking UK heads and stuff, but that's when we got into it. And there was like this second renaissance of like High Focus, Split Profits, Blah Records. Do you know what I mean? Like all these people, like these groups, like Boom Bap Festival and stuff like that, where all of a sudden there was all these artists. We had access to like HD cameras for like a lot cheaper than what it would have been a few years prior. Do you know what I mean? People could make videos on the cheap, basically, and we had YouTube. So it just went like that and just fucking exploded. You know what I mean? So it is kind of like you say, it never left. But I think that like 90s kind of sound, maybe because a lot of the people at that time, like my age, I was into the stuff, the 90s kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Maybe because I grew up through it, even when I was really young, maybe it just went into my head or whatever, but that's the sound I always liked. So when it started going more like commercial and stuff, it was a bit like, oh, I'd never want to make that. Like you say, you don't feel any sort of affinity with it. I don't have like crazy money or loads of girls and like whatever. It doesn't resonate with me. And there was a space, I think. There was a space to be filled, and like luckily we got that sweet spot, you know. But yeah, it's interesting, man. It's interesting how COVID really brought that on for you. Do you know what I mean? Brought on this whole journey, and now, like, how many videos have you done now? You must have done like
shit.
a lot.
It's over four. I think it's over 400 now. I think.
Come on.
Yeah. Like I had ridiculous work rate at the beginning. Like I was doing 2 or 3 a day. Like I was just diving into it. Because I just wanted more. I also don't want to. I didn't want to start listening to the music before I had a chance to do a video, because I didn't want. Because I do that sometimes now, where I'll buy an album, and then I'll listen to a track, and then the video will come out for it, and I'm so pissed off because like it's such a great song, which is why I had the new Verb T album, and I refused to listen to that track. Cause I know you're on a track on there, and I'm waiting, hoping that becomes a video before but I want to hear that shit, man. I want to hear it.
I don't know if that'll become a video. I haven't heard anything yet, but who knows? Verbs might get in touch. But yeah, it's a good track, man. It's a fucking good track. I like that track.
I'll give it a little bit. I'll wait a little bit longer, but I gotta get, yeah. I mean, and I look at that cat too, man. Like what he's done with those 2 albums and the Ill Informed. That dude just it seems like that guy never sleeps. I say he's got to be some kind of a robot, because every day there's a new Ill Informed track seems dropping on YouTube. But
that guy, like, he is like, I lived with him he lived at 84 for a while.
Oh, okay.
And just like, I mean, I personally think he's the best producer in the UK, like hip hop producer. Like, but he could produce. I think he could put his mind to producing anything. He's just insane. But his consistency of like the fucking, like, just you could get 100 beats, and you could play one and be like, yeah, that one. Like straight away, you're like, yeah, that one. And then you play the next one, you're like, nah, fuck it, that one. And then the next one, it's like, he's insane, man. He is insane, and he's nocturnal, I think. Yeah. You ain't getting hold of Ill Informed before 3 p.m. Like, it's just fun.
I want to go back to something that you said about split profits. And it's kind of like you're among these guys, and there's 8 or 6, 7 guys pushing each other. When you got to be on, when you're supporting Method Man and Redman and KRS-One and those cats, that kind of pushed you up a little bit too. Like when you went on stage, you kind of played up to just that little bit of extra adrenaline because you have those cats there, or
I mean, yeah, it's a weird one, because I guess like I treated, like, the way, for me personally anyway, is I treat every performance as the same, whether it's to 15,000 people on a stage you got to be insured to be on, or it's 5 people in a venue that like didn't get promoted properly, but those 5 people want to see you. You know what I mean? I've always tried to bring the same kind of energy, and it does obviously amp you up more, but it all kind of is partly to do with the crowd, like how excited the crowd are. Sometimes, like when me and Up Front, I can't remember, I think we supported Jizza, and we'd just done this song called Stick Up, and like I thought it'd be a cool idea to like have all the lights off, yeah. So we're there in the O2 in Bristol, which is quite a big venue. It's like probably the biggest music venue there is in Bristol for shows like that. And most people are there to see Jizza. Like, we were relatively like new to the scene or whatever, and I was like, fuck it, man. It's like called Stick Up. I was like, let's have it so all the lights are off, and we put tights on. So we put fucking tights on like we were robbing a bank or whatever, and run out to our track to Stick Up. The lights come on, and we're there like with tights on our heads, and people were just like, what the fuck? Like, a lot of people didn't really get it. Most of the people who were there to watch like Jizza were just like, what the fuck is going on? But you know, it kind of depends, man. It really depends on like how you handle your stage presence, how you handle yourself, because I see it as like, man, some of the shows we played, some of the best shows we played, has not been supporting a big act or anything. It's just been like, we played a show in Exeter once, which is like a town down by the sea, down south of England, and like, it was nuts. one of the best shows we've ever played, hands down, in some grotty little clubs, sweat dripping off the ceilings, you know what I mean? And it just depends, man. It depends. It's great getting to support those people because you also get to see them and you get to see how their stage show operates and like the call and response and stuff. And you can kind of like, you know what I mean? Especially heads like the greats. It's like an honor. You know what I mean? I'm so grateful to every promoter that's ever booked us and given us a chance to do those kind of things. Cause like, you know what I mean? It's something that most people won't ever get to do, you know? So you always got to come hard when it's supporting those kind of big heads. But you should, in my opinion, you should always be going hard anyway, no matter what.
Yeah. Speaking of energy, I've never seen anyone so energetic about canned fish. How did that pack in the Mac thing come along?
So I bought Tesco's mackerel in brine, but I'm going to give it to my dog. So let's start with the tomato then, yeah? See, I'm inside. So you notice I open it towards me. See, this is always a risk. The thing came off. I'd now got mackerel all over my wall and my window. It's peak. I just repainted. All over my hand. This is another thing. You start smelling. It's only for an unprepared man's game. Anyway, back to it. Never pour the sauce away. You never pour the tomato sauce away, and this you just fucking up your whole life if you do. This is one of my favourites right here. You can't fuck with Tesco's mackerel and tomato sauce. I think it was. I don't know whether it was because I remember I used to eat it like I've always been a fan of fish. But it might have been after I can't remember whether it was after that kid. I think it was just after that kid got out of pen, and like we were round at his house on a session one time, and like when you're broke, yeah, mackerel is one of the best things ever. You get a nice bit of protein. There's loads of different flavors. You know what I mean? It's like. I love it because I could be broke as fuck, like not have any money, and then go around to Tesco's or something, grab a couple of tins of mackerel, and you're sorted. Like, and then I just started noticing that there was like so many different flavors and like different, you know what I mean? The texture of the mackerel is different from Morrison's to Asda's to Tesco's or whatever, these different shops. Like everything's all different. And I lived with This and That Media, Dom. Okay. Dom Q, who's the guy who you know of Dom Q, This and That, you know him, This and That Media.
I know This
right?
and That Media, yeah.
Yeah, so him basically, he is This and That Media, and we just decided to make this series, and it was going to carry on. Like we had fishing trips planned and shit where we were going to go mackerel fishing. Like it was all planned out, but then COVID hit.
Oh.
So it all kind of, there were so many things that got like swiped out, man, like big time because of COVID. Like, but it, you know, not only COVID, it's having a kid and stuff. But man, I love mackerel. The only problem is now is my partner Ellen. She's allergic to fish.
Oh shit!
So that's just fucked up my whole game. Like, if I crack a tin of mackerel, like Helen walks in, she's like, "Oh, that's disgusting." Like, and the thing is like when someone else does it now, like Ill-Informed used to fucking hate me, man, because he'd wake up in the morning or whatever, and he'd be like, come out, and then his room was right next to the kitchen as well. So he'd come out and just be like, "Fuck that," and just turn around and just go straight back into his room, like. And I always used to be a bit like, "Come on, man, it's only a bit of fish." And then like when I hadn't eaten it for a while, and someone else cracked it in, I'm like, "Wow, yeah." Sorry to anyone I had to kiss with a mackerel mouth, you know.
I get that, man, because my family's all from down east in Canada, which is all like fishing and stuff. So growing up, it was like fish like 3 days a week, and now I can't stand it. Like I can't. I don't like fishing. I don't like eating fish.
No, not at all.
Well, I'll eat like fish and chips, but I won't eat sardines or well, I don't even know if we have mackerel in a can here. I don't even know if that's a thing. But
you haven't got mackerel in a can. I'm gonna send you some, man. I'm gonna send you my favorite one, man. In Portugal, they got whole shops dedicated to it, man.
Wow.
That whole shop, there's this one chain that's got like the whole shop is tin fish. The whole shop, different variations of fish, different layers, mate. It's my heaven.
Oh man, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes,
so I'm going to go back real quick here to the talking about the shows and how COVID changed a lot of things. But going forward, would something would you cats ever think about coming over to the U.S. or Canada for a tour?
I mean, we'd love to. I think we could do it. I think it'd be doable, but the logistics. Like I went to Australia with Helen, and like I booked a couple of shows. I only ended up doing one because of flights getting delayed and stuff like that. But that I don't even know if I should say it. Well, I'm sure it'll be fine. But just the logistics now to try and get that many people over, and then you're talking about work visas. Like, so there's flights, there's work visas, there's like the amount of money that you'd have to front just to get 8 people over there legally to do music is just astronomical. I think it'd be crazy money. We'd have to invest a lot ourselves. Like I can't see if, I mean, maybe if we drop, because we're working on new music at the moment, and maybe if we have this crazy album and we decide that we're all gonna put in money, and the label split profits can put in money and we get outside investment and stuff, maybe it could happen. But the likelihood is it'll probably be a selection of us, or one like that kid or me, or like Upfront and that kid, or Upfront me and that, you know what I mean, or whoever. But like I said before, it comes down to a lot of it, and this is how a lot of the bookings went, is it came down to who had put out the most, who was most prolific. If I don't put out any music for 2 years, and say certain other people in the crew are putting out lots of music and putting out lots of videos and stuff, then I'm not going to get the show in Canada. You know, I'm not going to get a show in the US. So, I mean, I'd love to, but at the moment it's looking like it's going to be difficult to even go to like Europe. Like now we've left because of fucking Brexit. Like the country, England's lost it, man. England's completely lost it. Like we've like in the past 10 years, I've watched this country, and I'm not a nationalist. I think what England's done to the rest of the world is fucking abysmal, and like the way it's run, even the people that still run it, we're being run by a bunch of fucking absolute scumbags who are just robbing us blind. Like literally robbing us blind. What's happened in England over this COVID is insane. The corruption. Like the Tory government is so corrupt. And then because of Brexit and the Tory government lying about the amount of money we're giving to EU and the amount of like, oh, it's all about immigrants and don't let fucking brown people come in our country and take our jobs. They got the working class on their side, when in actual fact, they're the rich motherfuckers who couldn't give a shit about the working class. And now Brexit has fucked everything. Like I had so much, I went to France just before Brexit, and me and my friend Charlie Cutt, we made like a 6-track EP in like a weekend. I've got loads of friends there. Like my family lived there. My mum and dad. My mum's moved back. My dad still lives there in France, but he can't. I haven't seen my dad in over a year. You know what I mean? Like, and to even think about going to there to do a tour, I just, you know, it's crazy. It's difficult times, man. I think that's another reason why maybe my focus kind of switched into like fight mode and like work on myself rather than trying to think about making an album to go on tour. I don't know, you know, but it's quite, there's for me anyway, and this might be different. This is probably different for different artists. Obviously artists on labels with a lot of money is going to be a completely different thing again, because they can have lawyers and they have the money to do what they need to do to put things in place to get them there. You know what I mean? We're completely self-made. We don't have any PR. We don't have any agent. We don't have anything. We've done everything from the beginning, pretty much ourselves. You know what I mean? With help along the way with various people. But yeah, it's a bit depressing, the thought, because I'd love to come to Canada. Me and my partner wanted to move to Canada. You know what I mean? Like we've been.
But I can see why. Canada's awesome.
It looks it, man. Honestly, like, it looks like a kind of almost like a dream place to live, man. Everyone seems so fucking cool. It seems chilled out. You seem to have like pretty legit. It's like it's like America's cool brother. You know what I mean? America's like the annoying little fat kid, like. And Canada's
They
like the cool older brother.
they probably think we're the lame brother, but
I think they do. Yeah.
yeah. But you know what? Like we have our shit here too, man. Like
Yeah,
it's
totally.
actually I found out recently that I'm mostly from I'm mostly British and Scottish, which my entire life I thought I was Irish, but now I know I'm
Scottish.
British and Scottish. So, my very first tattoo was going to be an Irish flag, so I'm kind of glad I didn't get that done.
Oh shit!
But yeah, I mean, hey, you're more than welcome to here anytime, whenever you guys can make it over.
Whenever we can, man. Yeah, I'd love to get over there, man. Yeah. I mean, I like never rule anything out. You never know. Like anything could happen, and I'd definitely love to. And I think it'd be a wicked little tour as well because we do have like I mean, I don't know what it's like, but we do. If I look at the statistics, we do have people in Canada listening. You know. But yeah, I'd love to, man.
Yeah, it didn't even occur to me that you would need to have a work visa. Like I just thought you would just be able to come over and
well, that's what we've always done. I don't know why I'm whispering like someone's listening. But you know what I mean. That's what we'd probably incriminate myself again. But you know what I mean. I don't know. That's obviously what we're trying to do.
Right.
Because to try and get a work visa, I don't know what a work visa is like in Canada. I know in Australia it was something like $1,000
per person
for like a 2-month work visa or something like that. But don't take that as gospel. I might have heard something through but I know it's a lot of money. You know what I mean? I know it's a lot of money to get proper work visas and stuff. And with Australia, you had to get a sponsorship, so you had to have like a guarantor type thing. So if everything fucked up and you got stuck there had to be someone that would kind of bail you out, essentially. Do you know what I mean? If you were doing it properly. I don't know what it'd be like in Canada. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I might look into it. Like me and Helen have always wanted to go to Canada. We're getting married this year. Go there on honeymoon. It's probably a bit cold.
Hey man, in the summer it's too hot and in the winter it's too cold, so you really can't win.
That's cool, man, because you guys get the best of both worlds. You get the real hot, and then instead of it being just like here, it's just rain and cold weather. Do you know what I mean? And then occasionally we get snow, and it's like, oh yeah, it's snowing. The whole country shuts down because they don't know how to cope with it. And you know what I mean? Summer's cool, but it's not like it's not really, really, really hot. You know, it's not long enough anyway.
No, yeah. Ours isn't either. But with a couple of your other things, you got Fatty Lou and you got Green Brick. What's next for those two ventures?
So Green Brick, we've got Joe Byrne's got like 2 projects. Like he's got a project with a producer called James Soy, which we're just wrapping up at the moment. And that's like Joe Byrne is very versatile. He's like one of my favorite rappers, man. He's such a good MC, and like this is kind of more boom bappy, and then he's got his album coming out. He's got an album coming out on Green Brick, and he's got another album coming out on DJ Skits' label Drag and Drop.
Okay.
Because we're family, you know what I mean? Like Skits is family to me, Joe's family to me, so it's not like there's no like, oh, you can't release on this and you can't release on that. It's just, you know what I mean? Let's make music. So he's got that coming. Mac Lloyd is just a musical genius. I love the guy. But he's had a kid. His kid is like maybe 3 to 5 months older than our son. So he's gone through the same kind of stuff of like moving house and all sorts, raising a kid. You know what I mean? The first couple of years of life is quite hard, but he's been super consistent. He's got a couple of singles and he's working on new music. We're working on new stuff, like conceptualizing things. What else? I mean, there's a few things. Crossbow T and Ill Informed, they've got like they're sat on a load of music that we want to get released. So there's a few things, but also I'm kind of putting I mean that's still rolling kind of in the background, but in the forefront, I'm really like this year we're really gonna push Fatty Lou hard because we've got loads of wicked designs. We've been like kind of held back from doing certain things that we wanted to do, A, because of COVID, and B, because of like having Leon at home the whole time. You know what I mean? So it's made it difficult to be able to. It's hard to run a business from home when you've got a kid there, and you can't leave the house. And you know what I mean? It's just been. But this year we're kind of setting things up to really hit it hard and expand like the range of clothes and the range of stuff we do, and also like where we sell it and stock it and stuff in other countries and things like that, and doing events. So it's exciting, man. I'm really excited for this year. We've like kind of hit the ground running so far. And yeah, we're just going to try and expand and just do more, try and tie everything together. So we do Fatty Lou events where it's like a music event and an art event, and you know what I mean, bring all the bits of the culture together under one roof through our clothing company, Fatty Lou, and through Green Brick, you know. So just try and tie everything together, really, and just lay down a solid foundation for our family, you know what I mean? That's the main mission, really, and get the fuck out of England at some point. Hopefully, like, we need a holiday, man. We've had like 3 nights off since he was born, man.
Oh man.
Need a break.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I know that.
How many kids you got?
I have a daughter on my own, and then I've got my partner and I, Vanessa. She has 2 kids, a boy and a girl. So Caitlin, my daughter Caitlin, is the youngest at 15. So Sarah is out of school and working, and Riley's in university and doesn't live here. So I have Caitlin half the time. So but like even that, it's like it seems like yesterday that she was like Leon, and now she's 15 years old. She's got a job at McDonald's, has a boyfriend, and it's just like, the days are just, it just goes so fast.
Yeah.
Like it really
You've
does.
got to, everyone, like, it's weird how cliche certain things are when you have a kid, right? Like you get told all these things like, oh man, like enjoy it, enjoy your childhood whilst you're young and all this shit, and then you have a kid and you're like, yo, enjoy this shit, man, because you're gonna grow up real quick.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like,
it won't be too long before Leon's fucking 15. Jesus. Yeah.
I want to touch on the Mac Lloyd here for a sec, because I really enjoyed that album you guys did. What was the thinking behind that thought process? Because it wasn't what I expected, but it was good. Like it was great. And it was a little bit of a different res singing and stuff like that. What was that? Did you wanted to do something different?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do something different, and I think like it was in a time when I was changing as a person, or like in a big way. Do you know what I mean? I was going from being, because like we made that when Helen was like pregnant, basically before Leon was born. So it was like I went from being like pretty raggo, always out and about, you know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff going on at the house. Do you know what I mean? Like situations that kind of had to stop when Helen got pregnant, especially later into the pregnancy, where it's like, right, everyone has to leave this house now. We kind of had to just like hold it down ourselves, and he was going through the same thing at the same time. And I just, I didn't want to make something like raggo. I wanted to make something a bit softer. I didn't feel as, do you know what I mean? Maybe like the fact I was having a kid, do you know what I mean? It changed me to be a bit more softer and make something a bit more introspective. I also came out of like a really, really, really unhealthy, bad relationship before I met Helen. And I don't think I like addressed it at all. And on Cursed, I mean, I don't really go into it too much on Cursed, but I felt like that track was like a bit of a release for me. You know, I mean, I feel like that whole EP was a bit of like a release in a way. It was like me stepping away from And not like I did this on purpose, but like looking back at it introspectively or whatever, it's like almost me stepping away from like the madness and the raggedness of Split Profits and what it had always been, my music had always been before that, to make something a bit different and a bit more relaxed. And also Mac Lloyd kind of brought that out of me, do you know what I mean? Like with his smooth beats and stuff, and the fact that he could sing, like he's a great singer and stuff and songwriter, and I think it just brought that side of me out a bit more, you know. And I really like it, and I think like with the concept for the new project is, I mean, I don't want to go into it too much, but it's not so much that, it's more like taking an idea of like one of your personalities or whatever, and then elaborating on that and kind of creating a person. Do you know what I mean? Creating this fictional person that is like a mix of maybe me and Mac Lloyd, or ideas that we have and things like that, and like building this kind of like, yeah, this story around this person or whatever. Not necessarily like a story A to B, but it gives you a bit more freedom. You know what I mean? Rather than rapping about yourself and your own experiences and stuff like that. Like add that to fiction. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, you know. But it's nice to do something different, man, and it's nice to like. I think everyone evolves. I still make gritty boom bap. Like and now I could make gritty boom bap, but I'd also feel real comfortable singing a 16 if I wanted to. You know what I mean? I'm at the age now, and I'm at the stage now where I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks about me. Like I really don't. I've got to that, and I used to like. Subconsciously, I used to not, but I guess deep down I did to a certain extent. And maybe not what people outside of my friendship group thought. I didn't give a fuck. But sometimes you with your own friends and your own inner circle, you get caught in that circle and you think like, especially us lot, man, we were ruthless. Like Split Profits, our little crew, not just Split Profits, but the Graph crew that we're affiliated with and stuff, like, we are ruthless. Like a lot of people don't stand, like it won't last long because you got to have thick skin, man, because you will get the fucking piss ripped out of you, like just constantly, man. And if you can't take it, then you better get out of the kitchen, you know what I mean? So to do anything that was kind of out of that, like we kind of all just shut each other down, I think. You know what I mean? Like it would just get shut down. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You know what I mean? So it wasn't, maybe there wasn't the space to do it. And then when I stopped being out and about as much, maybe that was the space that kind of let me do my little thing on the side. You know what I mean?
And you teased on Instagram that new Split Profit stuff is coming.
Yeah.
So how far are we away from that?
I mean, like we said before, when you asked how it's like, what's like with 8 people. I mean, it's hard. It's hard, but at the same time, saying that right now. That kid, Bill Next, and Upfront are living together. Me and Upfront and Bad Habits have got like maybe 6 tracks that we'd started because we were going to make a project. So there's like tracks that are finished pretty much. Me and Upfront have got like a stack of music that's like there. Then we've got tracks that are like half finished, spaces. We've all kind of been building because everyone's been doing their own thing. Like Dak has been doing his thing. Like everyone, like whether they're living life or like building on certain things or making a career or having kids or whatever, we've all kind of been doing our own thing, but still keeping our fingers in certain pies. Yeah. But the way I see it is like the strength comes from us being as a crew. Like it won't, like, to me, like they're all like my favorite rappers. I mean, I love everyone in Split Profits. Like everyone's super talented, but together it's like when fucking Voltron forms or something. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like we make it's stronger. You know what I mean? So I really like to see it happen before the year is up, and it will happen before the year is up. It's got to. You know what I mean? Because it just has to, I think, and I think it will. There's enough time and enough space, and everyone's kind of gone and done what they've had to do, and everyone's kind of coming back now to the crew. But we'll see. We'll see. But I mean, yeah, ideally before the year is up. It's hard, man. It's hard to get 8 people on the same page, but
yeah,
I think it's going to happen this year. No, I think it's going to happen this year. It's going to happen this year. But then if I say that and it doesn't, some you will get something from the camp this year, whether it's a full album or it's like a few of us make an album. You know, something will happen, man, for sure.
Looking forward to it. Speaking of that kid, I noticed during your one video, you're giving yourself a tattoo that says Whackmo on it.
Yeah.
Do you actually do tattooing?
Nah, I just I got like my house used to have a lot of people in it that let's just say a lot of things maybe came in and went out of the house or whatever. And it just happened that a tattoo gun came in the house and I ended up getting hold of the tattoo gun. And we had like a load of this old ink and shit, and it was like summer day, like all getting smashed in the garden in Garden of '84, and I was just like, right, let's get the gun out. I think I tattooed like 5 or 6 people that day. I tattooed like myself twice. Man, it was like dust everywhere and shit. It was so grimy, man. It was so grimy, man. It's how no one got like serious blood infections, I just have no idea. But I don't actually tattoo, but I've got like a lot of connections. Like 2 of my like really like I'd say they're my brothers. You know what I mean? One is Zulu, and he's done like most of this arm. This is like his arm, and it's all like so. This is the warrior pattern, the old samurai pattern for weed. This is like I don't know if you can see. I can't see. But then that's like the like a open strum on a guitar, like the full range of notes on a phonoboard. You know, the soundboard. And then inside is like so. That's the music. That's like the weed and the warrior. Then that's the flower of life popping out, which symbolizes my son. And then that is when 2 become 3. I don't know if you can see. So he's done all this stuff, and like with me and tattooing, like, and that's like the alchemy base metal to gold, but in like a human form. It's everything he's done, perfect sound wave. It's all like for me, you know what I mean? I haven't asked specifically for any of these designs. He's given me like a story, you know what I mean? That's how I see all of my tattoos. And then same way on this side, this is another friend, Rudy, and he's done like the Ubuntu, which is, so my mum was from Kenya. She was born in Kenya, adopted and brought back to England. And like I have an affinity with Africa, and they're like, they're both from South Africa, Zulu and Rudy. And Ubuntu is like, it basically means I am me because of you. You are you because of me. We are because of each other. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like karma kind of thing. But I love tattoos and I'd love to get into it. I've got a machine just over behind the screen up there as well, but I've just time. But Whackmo comes from an old, like the Bristol heads will know, a guy called Johnny Drills. And like you could do 2 hours podcast on or talking on that guy, man. Love him or hate him, like he came up with some pretty iconic sayings. Whackmo was one of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the reason why I was asking about the tattoos is I thought if you actually do tattooing, I would have you tattoo me when I got over there in April, but not if you're going to tattoo me out in the backyard with a whole bunch of dust.
No. I could tattoo you. I've got like the clean stuff. I've got brand new needles, man. I just need ink. Do you know who does tattoo in the clique though? Is Bubonic. Blanca. He tattoos, man. He did. He's good at tattooing, man. He did that. Like that's his job.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So if you want to get a little, that'd be wicked, man. I'm sure I'd be happy to tattoo you. Get a little split office ink.
Yeah, that works for me. So I always finish off the interviews with the same question. Actually, there's a couple of questions, but is there a certain bar or verse that you've heard from anybody and thought like, holy shit, I wish I had written that?
Yeah, like the one that comes to, I mean, the whole of Illmatic because I'm a massive Nas fan, and I think that whole album is just insane. Do you know what I mean? But as far as like maybe the UK goes, is a track called Mad Run-Ins by a guy called Ricochet. If you haven't checked out Ricochet yet, check out Universal Soldiers.
Okay.
Okay. There's another group that will come up that's some like crazy like techno dance thing. I'm not really too sure what it is, but they're called Universal Soldiers as well. So you might have to do a bit of digging.
Okay.
But check out Universal Soldiers, and the track is called Mad Runnings, but with a Z, like Mad Run-ins, and it's Ricochet, Ricochete. I think that's how you actually spell Ricochet, isn't it? I'm just dumb as shit. But that whole track, man, is like I've listened to that. I don't know how many times I've listened to that song, man. But it's just the whole. It's not just like one bar, but the whole story. Yeah, you need to check it out and tell me what, because it's fucking incredible. It's nuts. And like they're just mad underrated, man. There's loads of people that went under the radar that were just before the boom of like, I don't know what happened to them. Don't know what happened in their life. Everyone changes and stuff. But I know Ricochet started rapping again. Actually, to be fair, I think he's got Rick Branson. I think he's called now.
Okay.
RIC Branson. But check him out, man. Yeah, very dope.
I will. And the last question for you is, if you can, if you can do a collab with any artist on it, anywhere, who would it be?
Fuck. It would be. The thing is with doing collabs with artists is I'd want the artist to want to collab with me. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's a hard one because like it would probably be Nas, because Nas is like probably my all-time favorite rapper. Just like, but there's UK heads that I'd love to do tracks with and stuff, like Tony Rotten, you know, Black Twang. Like I'd love to do a track with Black Twang. You know what I mean? I'd fucking love to do a track with Black Twang and K9. You know what I mean? A track with those two on it. Like, it's hard. Maybe Benny the Butcher is just ridiculous. You know what I mean? He's ridiculous. But I'd probably like to be real. It'd probably be Nas, man. Like if Nas hit me up and said, "Yo, I want you on this new project," I'd be completed. I'd be like, all right, level complete. Like, let's go. But I don't know, man. There's so many people I want to work. There's so many people like that aren't even like crazy famous rappers or anything that we've talked about working together. You know what I mean? That I just haven't got around to doing, which has sucked. I've missed out on some wicked opportunities, man, just from not having the maybe whether it's the financial stability to be in the right frame of mind to write and sit down and write, or whatever. I'm too busy. Time not being used wisely enough or whatever. But yeah, I reckon Nas, man.
So how you started that was saying you want to be with somebody who wants collab with somebody who wants you. Is that kind of how the Verb Key thing happened on this last track? Did he reach out to you? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we're, you know what I mean? Like the UK scene is because of things like Boom Bap Festival, where like shouts to Ivan and everyone else who organised that, because like a lot of us met at that festival, and because it's such a small scene, it's not a big scene. Like a lot of us, whether like people act like they're friends or they are friends or anything like that, but like Verbs, he's a mate, you know what I mean? He's a fucking sound guy. He's a really nice guy. We talk, we chat. Like, just like most of like that kind of, there's a group of us. There's definitely a group of us that are closer than. It's not like the whole scene's all buddy, huggy, love. You know what I mean? Whatever. Like there is what it is, but yeah, with things like that, it's like I'm not getting paid to do the verse, or you know what I mean? I'm not paying someone to do the verse to try and up my credentials or whatever, you know what I mean? Like if I was to do a track with someone and it would be like, I've always wanted to do this, yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I'd pay for verses because I understand it's a business. People pay me. I've been paid for verses before because it's my fucking time, you know what I mean? And I've put in a grind over a certain amount of years that has given me a platform that doing a versus. You know what I mean? That's just how the game works. But to work with people when you both want to mutually work together is like there's nothing better than that. You know?
Yeah.
There's loads of people that would, you know what I mean? Like we wouldn't pay each other for verses, but we'd work together and we'd like to work together. But for someone like, say Naz, it wouldn't be like my dream if I had to pay 10, 15, 20 grand for it, you know?
Right.
Which is what the realism of it being is that's what it would be. Like, so, yeah, you know, Rick Branson, what's up? If you see this, let's go. Right, let's go. Black Frank, K9, what's up? But Black Twang's one of the goats, man. He's so good.
I haven't done nearly enough. There's so many artists that I haven't touched on yet, and part of the problem is you cats are so prolific. It seems like every week there's a couple of new tracks that come out, and I like to do the newer ones when they come out, right? So
yeah.
So sometimes I can go months without doing a throwback track, which I do everything from 2010 and back. I try to use as a throwback track, but yeah, just even having that is hard enough. And I know there's so many artists I haven't touched, so. But I don't plan on going anywhere. I'm enjoying this too much.
Yeah, man. Well, you've got a lot of good stuff because you know what I mean. I grew up on the stuff before that. You know what I mean? Like, so I like the stuff that inspired me to be like and inspired us in this newer generation is probably those older cats. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like when you you'll go down a rabbit hole when you start with people like Universal Soldiers and stuff like that, and like some of the older crews, like you'll start finding yourself getting sucked into these things like fucking Tommy Evans and people like that, and heads that, you know what I mean, are just really, really fucking dope. But yeah, you'll get you've got a lot of good stuff to look out for and look forward to, man. Trust me, there's a lot of good stuff out there.
And it's so tough too, because it's like I have a full-time job, right? Like, and as you know, yeah, you got family. Like you're saying, time is the thing, right? And that's like there's days where I don't write in order to do a video, so I have to give up something to do a video, right? Or I have to give up doing a video to do something else. So if I was doing this full time, like if I was like No Life Shack and I was getting paid to do YouTube videos, then I would just be pumping out 5, 6 a day, right? And
yeah,
getting down that. But I don't make any money off of doing this. I'm just doing it because I love it. And all you guys,
hopefully you will at some point. You know what I mean? You keep consistency is key in this game, isn't it? You know what I mean? You can start. You never know. You might start getting sponsorship. You never know. You never know, man. I think the consistency of what you've done, and like I love it, man. Like I've never really seen it done before. You know what I mean? And it's cool that someone like yourself from somewhere so far away has just dived right in and you're thorough as well. You know what I mean? You're proper thorough with like the way you review videos. It's cool, man. You know what I mean? You can see you're obviously a hip hop head, like from the way you approach it, man. It's dope.
I appreciate that.
Very dope. Yeah, man.
Listen, man. Well, I'll let you go and get back to your family. I know it's getting late there, so I appreciate you doing this, man. It means the world to me and taking the time out to do it.
No worries.
And if everything works out with COVID, I'll be seeing you in 3 months when I get over there. And
yeah, that's not even long. 3
No.
months. But yeah. Well, like I said, man, I'm gonna try and set something up. I'll definitely set something up, depending on. I mean, I don't know how big it'll be or what it'll be yet, but I'll definitely make sure there's something going on. Yeah, I look forward to it, man.
I appreciate that, brother. Have yourself a good night.
And you, man. Take care.
See ya.
Peace, bro.
It's
It's the two kids, new shit, improving the movement. We prove this with music, word for the choosing.
We're using the truth as a noose as we slew clicks, include hits
On the zoot, so we're cruising. Fuck your new things like cheap rings and tooth bling. Intruding on you like the boys in blue bin.
We wage them win war like the true kings. When the youth's losing, you better call the troops in.
Crews get all tongue tied like a shoestring. Moving and take all the proof you're using.
Abusing the system,
Listeners, we're hitting the rhythm.
quick in lyrics but we're chilling while spitting.
Sitting ripping out the Rizzler from billing. With the swift sick and villains. Inflicting the killing.
Time is ticking in Britain, we listen crippled and wicked. Drown out their fickle sounds so the people can't hear.